Judging by social media today, it feels like we are inundated with unobtainable beauty standards and products that promise to help us stay young and beautiful. You may think this is a purely modern issue, but ideals of beauty and accompanying treatments to help us achieve the desired look are as old as history itself. In this video, we will look at 7 unusual beauty treatments popular among ancient women. Number 1. Footbinding. One unobtainable yet desirable aesthetic that emerged in 10th century China was tiny feet. The ideal size of an adult woman's foot was said to be just 3 inches long and called a golden lotus foot. Footbinding was so culturally accepted that girls would begin to have their feet bound at the age of 5, although it could be as young as 3 or as old as 12. Usually, the older women in the family bandaged the girl's feet, tucking in the 4 smaller toes beneath the foot and pulling them towards the heel. Periodically, the bandages would be changed so that the resulting blisters, blood, and pus could be cleaned. The process rarely resulted in the desired 3-inch foot, but it did often cause gangrene, ulcers, and sometimes even paralysis and death. The practice was mainly popular with the upper classes, as those with poorer families needed their feet to work and complete essential chores. Eventually, the lower classes adopted the practice, binding the feet of older girls for a few years until they were married and needed to resume work. Although this seems horrific and obviously unobtainable, it is not a far cry from using a waist trainer or attempting one of the ridiculous online challenges, such as measuring your waist against an A4 piece of paper or having a thigh gap. Number 2. Snail Ash Freckle Remover. Freckles seem to go in and out of fashion, but in ancient Rome, they did not fit the desired aesthetic. The Romans had a large array of beauty products available, but this particular one was a treatment for scars, sunspots, sores, blemishes, and freckles. The treatment consisted of the ashes of snails that were probably mixed with other substances, like butter or oil, to create a skin cream said to create a smooth complexion. Ash was not an unusual ingredient in ancient skin treatments. The Babylonians, Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans all used ash mixed with clay and oils as a cleansing soap. But why the Romans thought that snail ash would be the best thing to cover freckles is anyone's guess. Modern studies have concluded that snail shells can make a good substitute for limestone and cement, so perhaps its smoothing properties were also found in the ash. If you know how and why the Romans began burning snails to cover their freckles, please let us know in the comments. Shells have gone hand in hand with women's beauty products for centuries, and as well as crushed shells being used in cosmetics, whole shells were also employed to store makeup. Archaeologists uncovered an intact scallop shell that contained a face powder dating from the 1st century in present-day Merida, and the use of shells to carry cosmetic pigments dates back to at least 2500 BCE, as evidenced by findings in the Sumerian city of Ur. Although it may seem outlandish to use snail ash as a beauty product, some ancient women also used snail slime as part of their skin routine. This unusual beauty treatment originated in the 5th century BCE and was used to treat inflammation and coughs, as well as an anti-aging serum. Stranger still, snail slime, or mucin, is still harvested from snails and used in many beauty products today. Number 3. Lead makeup. A pale complexion was highly desirable in many places across the globe. The main reason is that it showed status, as the poorest people would have to work outside in the fields, while the wealthier citizens could stay indoors and out of the sun. The beauty standard for Roman women was a smooth, pale complexion with large, bright eyes and a unibrow. This look was achieved in several ways, all a secret of Roman women. A Roman poet, Ovid, famously said, "Why should I see what makes your skin so white? Keep the door shut, and don't let me see the work until it is finished." Although Ovid did not want to know how Roman women achieved their looks, we know one way women made their faces paler: white lead. Called cerussa, meaning sugar of lead, some Roman women used white lead shavings dissolved in vinegar to achieve the desired pallor. However, this ingredient's toxicity was well known even then, causing the more sensible Romans to use chalk dust instead. However, the effectiveness of cerussa in achieving the ideal look must have outweighed the chalk dust alternative, as it was still popular in the 16th century when it was rebranded as Venetian ceruse, or spirits of Saturn. During this time, its use was prevalent with European royalty, including Queen Elizabeth. The pale porcelain skin was still associated with wealth and affluence. Ladies in the 1500s took the pale ideology to a new extreme, even painting blue veins to give the impression of transparency to their skin. As well as white lead, red lead was a common ingredient in lipstick and blush. The chemical combination of red mercuric sulfide and red lead is known as cinnabar and helped Roman women achieve just the right shade of red. Again, like today, there were other safer and more natural products on the market, and women were also known to use wine dregs or rose petals instead of cinnabar. Number 4. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. It is generally believed that the first women to make and wear lipstick were those who lived in ancient Mesopotamia. These lip tints were made using powdered red rocks or crushed shells mixed with wax or other substances to give their lips a bold color. The Egyptian ruler Cleopatra was a well-known polymath, but even she knew the power of a bold red lip. To create her signature look, she mixed beeswax with red ochre and the juice of crushed beetles. The main ingredients in her bright red lipstick were squished bugs, but crushed ants were also added for an extra seductive color. If the idea of smearing crushed beetles on your lips grosses you out, you might be surprised to discover that smushed beetle is still a popular ingredient in makeup. Today, a South American beetle called a cochineal is used to create a dye called carmine, as the beetle produces carminic acid. This beetle juice easily makes its way into natural makeup products, as it is a natural substance. So if you want to avoid bugs in your beauty products, make sure you stick to vegan brands. Number 5. Crocodile Poop Face Mask. Humans have been using animal products on their skin since ancient times, and although you may be fine with the idea of milk baths or honey face lotions, you might draw the line at dung. The ancient Egyptians and Romans used to swear by the use of crocodile dung to improve their skin's condition. As well as a common ingredient in face masks, baths of crocodile poop mixed with mud were made up for affluent women in the ancient world. The women would luxuriate in these baths, relaxing in the sticky mixture. Crocodile dung was thought to have a toning effect on the skin and was used as an anti-aging treatment. Although crocodile dung may have been plentiful in ancient Egypt, it must have been a luxury in Rome. One can only imagine it would have been a much sought-after import. However, there may have been some local crocodiles from which to source this unusual beauty product. The Greeks and Romans were fascinated with the Egyptian culture, and many affluent Romans sought to impress by collecting exotic animals, including crocodiles. During the 1st century BCE, Marcus Caelius Rufus imported 5 Egyptian crocodiles as part of a live zoological display. Then, in 2 BCE, Augustus arranged for a staged crocodile hunt at Rome's Circus Flaminius, which involved 36 live crocodiles. As well as a beauty treatment, crocodile excrement was used in makeup, with the dried dung being marketed as a less toxic option to cerussa for achieving a pale complexion. Like many other things on this list, these ancient women may have been onto something. While crocodile dung is, thankfully, not a common ingredient in beauty products, people still promote the use of cow dung to detoxify the skin, prevent pimples, and treat skin diseases. Number 6. Pea Teeth Whitening. Having pearly whites isn't just a modern desire, and it seems that the Romans would go to some pretty extreme lengths to have a dazzling smile. It was well known that urine contained ammonia, which the enterprising Romans used to keep their clothes looking clean and white. But these ancient people took this a step further and thought that if it made their robes look that white, perhaps it would also work on their teeth. This practice was so widespread that a common insult leveled at someone whose teeth were whiter than white was to say that they were full of piss. Roman toothpaste contained a host of other unusual and pretty gross ingredients alongside human urine. Pliny the Elder, a Roman naturalist and naval commander who died trying to rescue people from Pompeii when Mount Vesuvius erupted, recommended using the ashes of a hare's head and donkey teeth mixed with mouse brains. Lovely! Number 7. Black Teeth Lacquer. Not all cultures value a dazzling smile, and this unusual beauty treatment comes from Japan. It can be traced back to the Kofun period, which lasted from around 250 to 538 CE. The practice was called Oaguru, and evidence of this has been found on bones and clay figures from the Kofun period. A book called The Tale of Genji, written in the 12th century and is generally considered the world's first novel, details the prominence of teeth blackening in Japanese society. In ancient Japan, black things were regarded as immensely beautiful, and so perhaps this is what led to the Japanese desiring a dark and mysterious smile. By the Heian period, which lasted from 794 to 1185 CE, Oaguru was used to signify that children had reached adulthood. At 15, both girls and boys blackened their teeth for the first time as a coming-of-age celebration. A mixture of vinegar, iron filings, and tannin, called kanamizu, was used to darken their teeth. Later, during the Edo period, which lasted from 1603 to 1868, Oaguru was mainly practiced by wealthy married women, and eventually, the practice was almost exclusively linked to geisha. When Westerners began to visit Japan after the period of Sakoku, which had kept Japan selectively isolated for 200 years, had come to an end, the foreigners were shocked to see women with blackened teeth. At this time in the West, white teeth were the norm, so some mistook the dye for rotten teeth and presumed that the Japanese had terrible oral hygiene. When Westerners realized that the blackening was on purpose, they assumed that it was done to disfigure Japanese women, leading to a rumor that Oaguru was designed to make women less attractive and was done to prevent wives from cheating on their husbands. Despite the West's preference for white teeth, England had a brief period in which black teeth were also popular. When Queen Elizabeth I's teeth started to decay due to her love of sugary treats, her unsightly smile became the vogue. But sugar was expensive, and only the truly rich could afford to have rotting teeth. So Elizabethan ladies tried to replicate the look by blackening their teeth with soot. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about history, check out our Captivating History book series. It's available as ebooks, paperbacks, and audiobooks. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.